So today we are going to discuss about what is big data. So if you are very beginner and if you are new to this particular market like big data technologies, so this video will be your starter video and this video will help you to understand what exactly the big data is all about. So this video will be kind of it will be a kind of a lengthier video. I just as a disclaimer, I just wanted to tell you this. So before getting into the topic, I just wanted to tell you few things. So you can find the playlist link in the description box of this video where you can see complete big data videos. And I have shared my LinkedIn and Instagram URL in the description box if you want to contact me or you can follow me via that. And if you haven't subscribed my channel, please do subscribe my channel once you like the video. Okay. So let's get into the topic. So this session is like an overview, a demo of what is big data. It's completely a theory session. It's not a practical session. Okay. So big data, which is very familiar terminology for all of us, right? So big data, people used to say, your colleagues and your friends used to say big data technologies, and they used to say two particular terms, Hadoop and big data. Okay, so people who are very new to this, people will be the one question people used to ask me when I start this particular session. What is the difference between Hadoop and big data? Some people are saying Hadoop and some people they are saying they are big data developer. So we are hearing these two terms very frequently in the big data market. So what exactly the difference between these two? Okay, so I will tell you that. Okay, I will start the session with this difference between first of all. Okay, so here Hadoop as is a solution. Okay, solution of what? Okay, so since you are new, you may get this question. So Hadoop is one solution for data related problems. For now, you can keep this only in your mind is fine, is wide enough. And big data, as you know, even you are very new to this, but you may aware of it, right? So big data is a problem. Okay, so we don't want to jump into the solution. We will first start with problem. We understand this problem and then we can move on to the solution. Okay, even if you take this problem, right? So all this problem started with what? What is the scratch for this problem? It's data, right? The scratch for a big data is data, right? Okay, now the question is what is data? Okay, so data is all about collection of information, right? So information. So I have a data, which is a collection of information. So what you will be doing with this data? As a human, you can say what you will be doing with the data. Okay, so with the data, I'm saying I'm just giving my informations to you. I'm saying that I'm Gautam. I work for so and so company. So this is my information. I'm just giving it to you. And what immediately you will do? You will store my information, and that's what the mission will do, and that's what the applications will do. And after storing the data, what you will do? Okay, I mean, you get a chance or we get a chance to meet each other somewhere in the meetup. You are seeing me, and then what you will do? Okay, this is the guy who used to upload videos on YouTube channel, and you recognize me, and you know you come to know my name, and you are saying, "Hi, Gautam, how are you?" So you are giving a greeting to me, right? So that means you are processing with the data about me what you have already stored in your mind, and that means you do process. So with the data, so the missions and applications also will do the same. So with the data, I can do two things, store and process. Store and process, that's it. Now, when you get a problem with storage and when you get problem with processing, okay, and the data is called problem data. And that problem data is called big data. Okay, so this is a definition of big data. You can keep this as a definition as well. So problems, problem with storage and problem with processing. So this problem is something because of my data is a problematic data, and that is we call them, and that we call it as big data. So now the question is, what problems? So the problems are infinity. Okay, so we do have some myths like wrong understanding. So that also I'm going to clarify. Okay, so I will tell you what are all the wrong understanding that people used to have when they come into big data, and even people who has some experience in big data still they used to have these kind of wrong understanding and myths about big data. So I just will clear you all those stuff. So one such thing, a myth is like I'm going to tell you now. So here when I say infinity, the problems can be anything with the data. Okay, so when you take problems, the very first problem what people used to tell me is volume. Okay, so when I go for some meetups or some universities or technical workshops, when I ask what is big data to the audience, they used to say immediately, uh, a huge volume of data is called big data. Okay, what problems you will solve with big data? People used to say volume problem. So people used to think volume is the only problem and that we can fix with big data technologies. And but that is it's not completely true. When you say only volume, it's false. So we have so many problems in data and we have so many solutions in big data to solve that so many problems. So volume is not the only problem we have. And if you take any leading use cases in any big companies to small companies where they use big data, go and ask them, tell your use case. So they will be telling the use case. Only out of 10 companies, 2 companies can tell you, or 2 use cases can explain you the problem is volume. But the remaining 8 companies or 8 use cases will be different problems. You can state a statement like this. Big data can solve any problems. Volume is one out of that any problem is correct statement. But when you say volume is the only problem that we can fix in big data is totally wrong. Okay, so this is the first myth that people used to think about big data. So volume is one out of n problems. So what problems we do have with the big data? So we have a problem with value, the quality of data, and we have the problem with visualization, and we do have problem with velocity. The speed in transaction and speed in processing is called velocity, and then we do have problem with variety, structure, semi-structured, and unstructured data processing, and then we do have volatile viability. So all problem statements has been means they used to it's a trending terms. So any problems that you bring, you have to convert it to some synonym so that the first letters should start with V. But that is a trending terms. So all the problems will start with V, but still you can say storage issue, processing issue. Instead of saying velocity, you can say speed in transaction. It's up to you, but these are some terms that people used to use. So we do have these many problems, and for these problems in big data, you have solution. Okay. And one more thing I want to tell you as a data engineer, I'm not here to support big data, or I'm not marketing big data technology. So you have any solution, and that can be fixed outside the world of big data, and the cost is still low, or the product is free, yeah, you can go ahead. It's not a mandatory thing that you need to always go with big data technologies only. Okay, this is also one statement I wanted to tell you. Okay, fine. Now, we do have these many problems as I told you. And one scenario that I wanted to explain you here, again, the point is coming for the volume again. So this is a scenario that happened in my life 3 years back. I have attended an interview. It's a banking company. So in the interview, the interviewer asked me the question. So tell me about your project. I started explaining all the stuff what I have done in my project with Spark, Hive, and Hadoop. I explained everything, and at end I also explained the volume of the data that I used to have. So my volume of data it's around like 25 GB by end of day for one country. So this is what I told him, but he was not satisfied. I'm not sure whether he's trying to test me, but this is what happened. I'll tell you that. I asked him like, he said I'm not satisfied. I asked why. He said 25 GB of data is what you are processing for one country by EOD. This 25 GB seems to be very less, right? So why then you are coming for big data? This is what the question he asked. Then I told him the problem is not with volume in my project. The problem is the existing technology. The processing speed of the data was slow. So the data storage was not a problem in the previous technology. The data storage is still fine with the previous technology. We migrated to big data only for the processing speed. So I told him volume was not the use case in my project. The problem is velocity, that's speed in processing. But still he was not satisfied because he was very keen about the size. After giving him a lot of examples, but he was still not satisfied. But then I asked him a question. So, can you tell me your use case? So then the interviewer, like he started explaining a use case. He said like we do have some different data sources, and there is one such project in which we have almost 100 GB of data, even more than that by end of day for one country. He said. So then I said, like sarcastically, I said, in that case, you want me to, if I say more than 100 GB, you will be satisfied. So then he laughed. So then I means then he said, but still 100 GB is huge compared to your 25 GB, right? That's so this is what he said. Then I gave him a scenario. I told him, if you are attending an interview in companies like Google and Facebook, if they ask you the same question, what will be your answer? He said, I will say 100 GB. Then I told him, for Facebook and Google, per second they process petabytes and petabytes of data, and of course they are also using Hadoop and big data technologies. And for them, your 100 GB is very low, right? And they will not be satisfied with your volume, right? So this is what I told him, and then he laughed, and then he moved on to next question. So why I'm explaining you this, right? So still now people used to ask me in interviews, like people are asking me about the volume, but I really work on Hadoop projects only, but my volume is very less, and I'm not confident to say that volume. So my friends, like they are really working on big data for 2 to 3 years, and then they are trying to move on. And in the next interview, when they ask for the volume, they are processing like more than 100 GB per day for one country, but still they are like not in, they don't have the confidence to tell that my volume of data for per country per day is 100 GB, because they think 100 GB seems to be very low. So that is not the case. For that reason only I'm telling this. This will build the confidence for you. See, even you process 10 GB of data, you can still say I process 10 GB in big data. Now, if I am asking you a question, what is the size of big data? So there is 10 people sitting here. I'm asking. So people will say different sizes to me, right? One guy will say 100 GB. One guy will say 200 GB. One guy will say petabyte, yottabyte, and scatabyte. So your current technology gives you the means your previous technology gives you the answer for the question. Imagine I worked on Oracle, and means I'm just saying an example. In Oracle, I'm not means in my Oracle system, if I process more than 10,000 TB of data, I'm getting an issue. Less than that, it is working fine. Then for you, for your technology, 10,000 TB if you cross, then you can bring big data into it. So if you see the use cases of different companies, go to their engineering blog. If you see, Facebook will say I use big data and my data size is petabytes, and there is one more small startup company, they say we use big data and my data volume is just gigabyte. That's fine. So their existing technology has given the problem with that particular size. That's it. So the answer for the question, what is the use case of the volume? I mean, why, what is the size and why you moved to big data? The answer is with your previous technology. So in my company, I worked on Oracle. In Oracle, I was not able to process more than 100 GB, so I would have moved on to big data. That's it. Statement completed. It's not like you have to say more than petabytes and petabytes of data. That doesn't matter. I mean, it's doesn't make sense. Okay. So when someone tries to get this from you and they still not satisfied, it's their mistake. Okay. So even you process just 1 GB of data, which was not possible in your previous technology, and you are doing it big data, that's fine. Your 1 GB is your use case actually. So that means like you have 5 GB pen drive and I'm asking you to store 6 GB data is not possible, right? So for that 5 GB pen drive, the balance 1 GB data is big data. That's it. Okay. So the scenario I just explained you, the reason I wanted to build you the confidence that volume is not the only problem. We do have lot of other problems. Okay, fine. So now we kind of understood the problems what we face with data, and we are facing all these data problems. The reason is like the applications usage, right? So the we got the same application in mobile and in desktop and in the laptop, tablet. So people usage means the usage of having the data usage got created. So both in front end and back end, we got a lot of problems, and people invented such technologies to solve it. And if you take, we do have more than 10,000 plus solutions for data under the big data technology. Okay, so we do have 10,000. Hadoop is one such technology. Like that, we have Spark, Kafka, Storm, Flume. So we have so many other technologies, and that they have invented to solve different problems for the different means data layers. Okay, so now we are coming to the one more next point. Like people used to ask me like, who are you? I used to say I'm a big data engineer. And then in my team, I do have some testers and BSAs. They used to ask me, okay, so you say that you are a big data engineer. So big data means problem. That means you gonna build a problem. Means sarcastically they used to ask me. So I'm telling you why people gave a name as big data, and that's what I'm trying to tell you. So we do have 10,000 plus technologies in market, and they wanted to bring that into a one market. Like we have C, C++, Java, and we call it them as programming languages, right? So similar to that, we need to give a unified term to all these solutions. So they came up with the problem name itself as a market name. Big data is a problem name, but the thing is, they don't have any other names, so they just gave this big data as a technology name, the market name, the designations name. So they just gave the problem name as a solution name, and that's it. There is no big history about the word big data and all. Okay, fine. Now we discussed like what is big data and what the main two problems, and then under those two problems, what are all the sub problems we do have, and then what is the naming history of big data. Fine. So this will give you an kind of an overview of stuff. And big data, what type of like layers that the big data has? Okay, let me remove this. Okay, data layers. So in big data, you have technology for storage. That means databases and file systems. And in big data, you have technology for processing, for data processing. And these are called so this is one data layer, storage layer, processing layer. And we do have technology for data testing, and we do have for visualization, and we do have technology for data science, machine learning, and artificial intelligence, etc. So we call it as analytics, and we call processing as analysis. And we do have technology for automation, scheduling, etc. So many layers. So big data also covers so many layers. So you can ask me a question. So these layers are already there, right? So we do have, for storage we have Oracle and MySQL. For processing we do have some processing frameworks like Informatica and ETL. But still, these layers also supported in big data as well, but with the different technology names. Okay, fine. And I have a separate video like explaining you the different layers of data. Okay, so I have a separate video. I've just given that video link in the description box. You can have a look. So big data also support these layers, but in my upcoming video for each layer, I will give you the example of big data technology and I will explain you that, but that I will do in upcoming videos, but not now. Fine. So the next thing I want to explain you the history of Hadoop. Okay, so the agenda is not exactly to explain you the history. The reason is something else. After explaining the history, I'm going to explain you something else. So the agenda is not exactly for you to know what is Hadoop and how means for this session, who created it, how created it. It's not required. But with that, I want to explain you something else. Okay, fine. So Hadoop, like in 2002, Google released a paper called GFS, Google File System. It's to distribute the data. And in 2004, Google released another base paper called Google MapReduce. This is to process the distributed data. Okay, it's the data is already distributed in GFS. So to process that data in a distributed in a parallel processing, they got GMR. And Google invented these two base paper in these 2 years. So in mid of 2005-6, Hadoop has been invented by duck cutting. So he invented this. So he's an ex-employee of Yahoo. He has his own company. I will tell you the company name. So Hadoop has two projects, HDFS and then MapReduce. So GFS to HDFS and GMR to MR. And Hadoop has so many other sub projects, but that was not there in the initial releases. And even now, Hadoop, when you install Hadoop, you will get only HDFS and MapReduce. Some people might have a question now. I have heard something called Hive, Scoop, Pig, so and so. So those things have been invented by different contributed, different group of peoples and different companies, and they give support to run it on top of Hadoop. Okay, but duck cutting invented as Hadoop only these two projects. Okay, fine. So one more interesting fact I want to tell you here is, so this GFS is a paper which is released in the year 2002 itself, right? And Google, by the time they have already implemented it, they just released the paper only. And imagine when they have started thinking about the idea of this GFS, they released in 2002. That means when they have started it, that means it's touching 90s, 1998, 1999, right? The technology which we call so modern today has been invented like even 1998 and 1999 itself. So that is a generation technology generation gap between big companies and to us. It's always happened. One more example is I think like Android application and a solid application, a phone what developed by 2012 or 13, I think so. But by the time Google said it is 10-year-old project, that means it's like 10 years old from 2012 is something again it's touching 90s. So by the time only we started using the Nokia black phone, right? It's like a brick. Okay, but that's there. It's a technology gap. It always be there, but that's fine. It's an interesting fact. I just added it in between. Fine. So this is the history. So after inventing this Hadoop, Ducketing announced this as open source. So open source. Okay, people who are very new to open source, I will just take 5 minutes of time to explain you what is open source. So people who is aware of open source, maybe you can skip this part and you can forward the video and see the next thing what I'm explaining. Okay, so open source is something what if I ask what you will say, the source code is free. Okay, then people will ask me if I give my source code for free, then how I will be getting money, right? So if I'm giving my code for free, then how I will get a money? Okay, I will explain you how this works. Means in a very layman term, I will explain you. So if you invented some Hadoop like this, you have invented. So what you will do? So I want to sell it to a company. Then what you will do? You will book an appointment to Google or Facebook, and you will go there. You will give a presentation, and you have to first of all get the appointment, and then they have to like your project, and then only they will say like, okay, I can take this. But it's like you have to go to the doorstep of each and every company and you have to explain them, right? But open source will work in reverse. So you have your own website, imagine gautam.com, and I release my code and companies started looking into my website and they like my code and they download it and they will use it. And then they will come to me and they will say like the code what you have in your website is really good. I'll give you funding. You give me this project and also you create such projects for me. So this will work like this. Okay, so it's like you give things for free and companies will come back to you. They will pay for you to give such support to their company. So this is what open source. This is how open source will work. And now there is a point like how many companies will trust my website gautam.com, right? No one will trust, right? So how come the website can have virus containing code as well, right? So we have some community, they will give license to the open source code. So one such community very famous, you might have heard about it, Apache Software Foundation. So it's like ISO. In India, we used to get that ISO, right, for the company and the product. So similar to that, these guys will give you the license. And this Apache license was trusted by the whole world IT giant companies. They will trust this. And each and every company, they have their own research and development, right, team. So these research and development team used to always monitor this Apache website and any new source code comes to it, they will download and they will explore. And if they love it, they will approach back to you and they will give you the funding for you to create such projects and give support for them. Okay, so Apache Software Foundation, to which Duck Cutting released it, so he donated this project to ASF, Apache Software Foundation. So maybe you can ask me if my project is there in Apache Software Foundation but it was not liked by any companies, then what? It's kind of an it's kind of like loss for me. No, it's not loss. If your project is in Apache, it's like a huge recognition for you. If your project is in Apache, you can add that in your resume. That will give you like more opportunity with respect to job as well. Fine. And the people who release their project in Apache, it's not like an one person. It could be a group of team or it could be a company as well. Okay, fine. So now comes, so I told you, right, I'm explaining the history not for really to know what is this Hadoop and when they invented it, right? So there is a different thing I want to explain based on this. So that different thing is, now I am a company. I have my own company called A, and it's an IT company. I want to do this Hadoop stuff. Okay, Hadoop is an Apache Software Foundation. So I wanted to use this code to in my project for my client. Now the problem here, Apache Software Foundation will not give any support for you. It's a community. That's it. You can download the code and you can use it, and that's it. They won't give you any support. So that means if you take any companies, even the products, means the code, the Hadoop is very wonderful project and it's worldwide used by people and it's a hit project, but still there is no support, I can't use it. So downloading Apache, means Hadoop or any component from Apache is just useful for you to test in your personal laptop, or you can do a small proof of concept POC. But this cannot be implemented as is in your project. The reason is as Hadoop as a product that doesn't have any support from Apache. If you have any technical issue or if you have any infrastructure problems, you cannot go back to Apache. It's like a Stack Overflow. You will be having some command where you can raise your question and people who have time, they will come and answer you. So that means as a company CEO or a company architect, I cannot use this. Now, this is the problem. So the company likes Hadoop, but there is no support, so they can't use. Now someone is coming in between to solve this problem. So what this guy is doing, okay, this is like I'm okay, Gautam. So what Gautam is doing? So Gautam is downloading the Hadoop code, had the complete Hadoop stuff, and then he's learning in and out what it has and what company requires. So he's asking to this guy, what you need in this Hadoop, Apache Hadoop. So he's replying back, I need support. Okay. So what this guy is doing, he's hiring some people under him. Okay. And then he is explaining what are all the things in Hadoop and what are all the problems will come, how to fix it, how to create a cluster, how to provide an infrastructure, all things. So he's building a team and they call themselves as a support team. Now I am releasing this particular Hadoop, whatever I have downloaded, and I created a support team. And whatever not there in Hadoop, okay, security is not there, I will add. UI is not there, I will add. Infrastructure is not there, I will create a cluster for you. So I will build this as a package. I'm releasing it in the name of Gautam Data Box. You can ask me what this Gautam Data Box has. It has Hadoop, that's it. But I'm giving support. So now I formed a company called Gautam, and I am there to sign an agreement with this particular company A saying that I will give support. You can use my Hadoop, I will give all support. So here, this Gautam data box is completely free, but for the support, the client has to, the company A has to pay for me. Okay, so now they call this as commercial Hadoop. So that means what I'm doing is I'm providing big data as a service, Hadoop as a service. So in real time, big companies will not use Apache's Hadoop or Apache Spark or any Apache big data component. So they will use some company who provides support to it, and we call them as a commercial product. So to explain this only, I have explained the history of Hadoop, but this is the same case for any other component, Spark or anything else. So I will explain you such commercial enterprise or enterprise edition of Hadoop. Okay, there are some companies who is doing this. Cloudera. So Cloudera is the company was formed by the Doug Cutting, who is father of Hadoop. Okay, with some group of engineers as a partners. And the second leading company in providing big data as a service in market, Hortonworks. First is Cloudera, and recently these two company has been merged. And the next company is Amazon, and there is a company like Google is also doing this. Sorry, Microsoft is also doing this. IBM is also doing this, and there is a company called Mapper is doing this. Databricks, all all these guys, what they are doing is they just download the Apache products and they give some add-ons, and they will create a support team and they will sell the product. And they have all these. What all these companies are doing is they are providing big data as a service. That's it. So Cloudera product name is Cloudera VM. Hartanox product name is HDP Hartanox platform sandbox development platform. Yeah, D for development. HDP. Amazon, they have their own big data service as EMR. Microsoft is HD Insight. If you have a Microsoft Cloud account Azure, you can use this HD Insight. IBM, they have their own big data as a service as Big Insight. Mapper, they have M3, M5, M7, and etc. kind of versions. Databricks is again a Databricks sandbox. So what all these people are doing, I'm repeating and again, they are providing big data as a service. They have Hadoop, Spark, all big data components. Mostly they will build as a package and they will give you. And these products are means you have trial versions and free versions. You can download and you can use it, but for support you have to pay for it. Okay, so you can ask me, okay, if I want to learn it, learn Hadoop or Spark, any component in my personal laptop, which distribution you would suggest? So I will suggest always Apache. Okay, so Apache is what I will suggest always. So these flavors, like some companies will. So I worked in Cloudera, Hartanox, EMR, and I don't have experience on these three. I worked on this, I worked on this, I worked on these two. So I'm not sure which distribution I will be working in my next company. So it's like Apache is always a common one, and even if you can do freelancing as well, but these are enterprise editions. So it's not that much easy, and your laptop requirement, hardware requirement is also important. You need at least more than 8 GB of RAM at least to deploy all these enterprise editions. But what these things are doing, the same thing you can do with Apache as well. But the problem here is you have to install, you have to configure, everything you have to do. But here everything, it's like switch, you can on it, everything will be get started. So Apache is what I suggest. But then at end, like 5 minutes, I will explain you how to project it in your resume. That I will explain you as short. I will explain you that I will. So that will be the next part. So I hope you understood this particular thing. Now coming to the next slide is next thing is prerequisite. So the prerequisite is not for Hadoop, it's for big data. So you need to know Linux. So what level of Linux you need to know? As much as possible you can learn is fine. Okay. So as much as you can learn is fine for it. So Linux is very important. And then knowledge on SQL, SQL, structured query language. It's like DML, DCL, and DDL commands are wide enough. You don't want to go for stored procedures or triggers. So PLSQL kind of stuff is not required. Basic SQLs are wide enough. Joins, subqueries, and insert, update, delete. So that level is wide enough. And then programming language. Okay, the next myth. People used to say we need to know Java, only then we can jump into big data. It's not like that. It's like 50-50. So SQL 50%, and then programming language 50%, and then yeah, Linux also plays an important role. So it's a mixed of thing. Okay, it's not like you need to know only SQL, you need to know only Java. It's not like that. And even in programming language, it's not like you need to know only Java. Any programming language is wide enough. It's not always to be Java. That's very important. It's again a myth got created. Big, even Hadoop, you take Spark framework or Hadoop framework, you may be very new to this, but you may be asking a question like always he's saying Hadoop, Spark, what is this, what is this? So Hadoop is one framework to solve a data problem, and Spark is another framework that also will solve the data problem. It depends on the purely on the company solution architect to decide which one, and some people can use will use both. Okay, but I will explain you everything in my upcoming videos. Okay, so if you take programming language wise, Java is not only thing that you need to learn. So but the preferred language I ask you to learn is Java or Python. Okay, and there is one more language, like people started using it widely, Scala. But any framework that you take supports all these three, so you can pick any one and you can be means you can learn it. But it's if you go for an interview and you are a big data developer, but they're asking with Java, but that's still fine. You can attend the interview. It's not like I'm a big data developer, but I worked in Python, so I cannot attend that interview. Don't do that. Okay, it's my advice. Don't do that. So big data developer is what the priority for the company when they go for interview. But the JD has Java, but don't get confused. Okay, please attend it. So many people are doing this mistake. Okay, see, you can easily migrate your Scala knowledge to Java and Python knowledge to Java if the company asking you Java. It's all about clearing that interview. That's it. Once you get into the work, you can easily migrate your knowledge. But that is what people are doing the mistake, and they are losing the opportunity from opportunities that comes from the big companies and big product based companies. So don't do that. Okay, you attend it, still you attend it. The priority is big data, not programming language. Okay. Okay, so you know big data and how you are applying it through what the communication medium is. What they prefer Java. You say that you know Java and attend it, and then you can convert the things, whatever the question they ask, from Scala to Java, Python to Java. You convert the knowledge. That's it. Fine. So this is what the prerequisite. And the next thing with respect to job, but this I will be making such separate videos for jobs and interview preparation and all. But this video as a whole I want to give you, so I'll explain you in short. Now coming to the experience for the freshers. Okay. So for the freshers, taking freshers for big data, things are happening now, but still you need general IT experience at least 1 year or 2 year. General IT, you can be from testing, support, or data side, or mobile computing, cloud, web is fine, but you should have some 1 to 2 years of general IT experience. And then you can learn big data and you can move on to this field. Next, for experienced people, yeah, the same. See, so far you have been for mainframes for 10 years and you have been in for ETL for 10 years or 5 years and you have been in testing for 10 years is still fine. So big data is like a multi-tenant market. It's not like people only from Java can enter into it or people only from SQL can enter into it. It's not like that. So once you enter into big data, you will come to know that. And people means who is in the interview panel, right? So imagine big data as a companies, people started using big data from the year of 2014 only. So my passed out year is 2013, and I have 7 years of experience now. For now, see here, if you take people started using big data from 2014, from 13 to 14, a lot. So if interviewer is having like 10 years of experience and he or she cannot say that my experience has been started as big data developer. No, they cannot say, right? So what I'm trying to tell you is, so it's not like your previous experience should be a big data developer or your previous experience should be only in Java or only in SQL. It's not like that. See, you can be from any technology. It's all about you learn big data, you do some POCs, and then you prove them in the interview that you have the knowledge on it. And that's what you have to do. So don't hesitate. So if you are trying to move for some different technology like data science or big data or cloud computing, you can pick this. That's my option. Means that's my suggestions for you. Okay, so this is what I want to tell you with the job perspective. And when it comes to resume, yeah, I want to tell you one more thing. So they can ask you this question in the interview: what was the distribution, Hadoop distribution that you have used? I explained you, right? Cloudera, Hartan Works, Amazon, EMR. So they are called distributions. Okay, that's what the distribution. That's what the environment. So when you say Apache, right? Apache is what I told you to use it when you are in the learning phase. But when you say Apache, people will think Apache was not Apache Hadoop or Apache Big Data Services are not used by real-time companies, right? And that means he's not having knowledge, and that's what people will think. So you have to say the Cloudera, Hartanok, such environment. So the environment is different. The content inside the environment is still same. Okay, so you can download Cloudera, Hartanok. You can give a try. You can learn it, and you can do. You can explore, and then you can attend the interview. And when someone is asking you this question, which distribution of Hadoop you have worked, you can say Cloudera. You can say Hartanok. You can say Mapper. Right? It's things are same. Okay, so we don't know what distribution they are using, right? It's all about they are just trying to test you whether you worked in real-time distribution or not. End of day, it is a black window. That's it. It's everything is a Linux commands. Trust me. Once you get into the project, you will come to know. But as a detailed video, I will be giving whatever I explained you in this video. Every single point, I will be making a separate video. But this is just to a Kickstarter session, a very first video that people should know what exactly big data is. And I hope this will give you an overall idea. I was not too technical for now because people, I don't want to dump so many things in the single video, but this is going to be the lengthier video as I told, and my apologies for that because this is required. I cannot split this. So thanks for watching.